It's Thursday again. It's time for another raunchy and rompy adventure with our favorite politically incorrect Black Ops squad. Let's talk about episode 5 of Peacemaker. With last week's episode having slowed things down to focus on each individual character, this week brings them together as a unit to go on another mission, now with Vigilante as an official member of the team. Now, before I properly start with my review of Peacemaker this week, let me know your thoughts on it. Drop them down below in the comment section. Just start the conversation, because it's always the most important part. And if you like movies and TV, this is the place to be, so consider clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. So, if you've been following these reviews, you know I really am loving this show. And you know this will have spoilers, so if you have not seen the episode, stop watching right now, or if you don't care, you're welcome to keep on watching. And last week's episode really surprised me with how it handled its characters, and naturally bleeding from that, this episode is pretty much just watching them grow as a unit and starting to trust each other and creating this bond where Peacemaker doesn't realize he is a bully. He has always been a bully. The way he's treating Economist right now, calling him Diebeard, just completely roasting him in that opening sequence when they're having the brief and they have the PowerPoint presentation, and he just starts dropping names of real people, of dead people, of fictional characters, of people he could have put the prints of back at the crime scene instead of blaming his father. But that whole thing drives this entire episode, where Harcourt, who opened herself up a little bit to try and help Peacemaker or Vigilante last week, and now you can see her smiling. You can see her very defensive at first, which is the Harcourt that we have been seeing. But little by little, she starts to see these interactions between Peacemaker and Vigilante, Peacemaker and Economist. When Economist mentions that he likes a band that Peacemaker loves as well, that bond starts to form. And that bond between Adebayo and Peacemaker is already there, so she's already a guiding light for him. And I love that. I love those dynamics that are present in this episode, and how little by little we see them growing throughout this episode as they go into this power plant where they know there are some butterflies there, and we see the pairs going off with Economist staying in the van. Myrn is just in the back. He's just not a part of this bonding session and of this trust that's being generated and earned throughout the whole team. So I really like how the episode structurally handles that, and there's a narrative and thematic purpose for it as well. And so as we have Economist at the back in the van doing surveillance, and we have Adebayo and Peacemaker, and then we have Harcourt and Vigilante, both the pairs doing their own thing. And the joke that stayed with me from this episode is when they're leaving the van and Peacemaker says that lesbians don't do any fingering. You don't even know what fingering is. I'm sorry, for a second I forgot women had fingers. I don't remember everything, okay? Jokes like these are why I love James Gunn. It's just so off the rocket stupid. It works for these characters who are absolutely inept social animals. And then most of this infiltration sequence is just bonkers violence, with Peacemaker now having X-ray vision in his new helmet, and that comes back at the end of the episode, and he just starts blowing brains left and right. He made a bomb in his place before going out to the mission and just blows up butterflies. There's a random monkey, a random gorilla that I did not like seeing dying on screen because I hate animal violence, but oh well. Made Economist earn Peacemaker's trust even more as he and everyone else were getting their ass kicked, and Economist just stepped in and picked up the chainsaw that Vigilante wanted so much, and Vigilante says, "So unfair, I never get to kill anybody with a chainsaw." Economist just did, and now this bonding session really cemented itself with that, to the point where Harcourt herself opens herself up just a tad bit more by the end of the episode and creates this group chat, which it's meaningless for us. We have group chats with a ton of people, but to see these damaged goods start to little by little trust each other, I think it speaks to the emotionality that this show is handling so delicately. And James Gunn understands that it's not an easy process. And it's something that these characters little by little are taking these small steps in starting to trust each other, in starting to listen to each other and try to understand each other. I love this dynamic that was explored throughout this episode. That's compelling storytelling, where we have all the ridiculousness at the surface, but what it is actually doing underneath for these characters and their growth throughout the show. That's what's most important to me, and that's what's really hitting the nail on the head with James Gunn and what he's doing on this show and how he wrote these characters and their journey. To the point where overall, I don't think this episode does anything like really special structurally in terms of advancing the story, but when it comes to characters, it's really cementing that trust, that friendship, and how these characters are so similar to one another, to when the point comes next week after the cliffhanger of an ending that we had, and we'll get to that in a bit, we're going to see them knowing whose side they're actually on. Because while the team is doing all this, and this takes like the A storyline of the episode, the B storyline is Mern staying behind and having a friend of his taking care of the whole mess with the fingerprints. So now Mern and Waller, by proxy obviously, have a mole in the police department getting in the way of the detectives. So now Detective Stong, who doesn't like the White Dragon, who doesn't like Agee Smith, but was willing to let him go because those aren't his prints, those are Peacemaker prints. And now she's starting to not trust this new captain of hers that is here, that is a friend of Mern. So I'm very curious to see if this guy, this new captain, is also maybe a butterfly or is a friend of Mern's from before. Which now we spoke about the A storyline, we spoke about the B storyline, now we speak about how they've come together by the end of the episode, where Adebayo has this really nice hangout with Peacemaker, at least on the surface, where she's become his confidant. She's become the person right now that he trusts the most, where he's kind of even asking her about how he should handle this situation with Harcourt, where he's really asking really basic stuff that you ask when you're 12 years old, when you're growing in your formative years, and it just shows again how damaged he is as a social creature. He doesn't know where the lines are. And you see this character in Adebayo where she has just the purest intentions. As a part of this team, under that false pretense where she's keeping this secret from them, and the very fact that she's here, she's keeping the secret, she's under the pretense that she has to put this diary somewhere for him to find, under the orders of her mother, another secret that she's keeping from the team. And so I love how this pressure is mounting, and then the pressure of the wife, that she's also losing the trust of her wife, and all these pressures are mounting on, and you can just see where this final stretch of the episode is going, where she's opening herself up to Peacemaker, giving her honest, earnest, really actually good advice, but then she goes to Mern and starts playing around with Peacemaker's helmet that they established the X-ray vision in earlier in the episode. And it's, you know what's coming throughout the scene, but you're just waiting for that bomb to drop. It's like when Hitchcock says that there's a bomb somewhere, and you're just waiting to see the bomb explode. And so she sees that Mern is a butterfly, and the episode cuts off right after he catches her and throws her on the ground. And I still feel the way I felt last week, where next week we're going to just see a conversation between Mern and her, but now the pressure is on Adebayo, where she has the secret that she's Amanda Waller's daughter. Now she's losing the trust of the team. She's going to lose the trust of her wife, and she has all these pressures and all these secrets. And I think we're going down a road where she loses the trust of just everyone around her, and she ends up alone. And it's going to hurt, because this is the one character who's the least damaged, who has all the best intentions in the world, who has all her ideas straight, who just came into this position out of desperation. And the way she's being positioned, knowing all the information, the chips on her side, it's fascinating. It's really compelling stuff, and you cannot see a way out. Despite all the best intentions, everything just seems to come back to haunt her. These are going to be very bad optics for her, and it's going to be like seeing a car crash. You just know there's no good outcome for her. And I hope the show keeps going this way, because it's making stuff really interesting. It's drenching everything in rich drama and compelling stuff that I cannot wait to see how these dynamics pay off, and if these characters end up trusting each other again. Maybe Adebayo immediately tells them the secret of Myrn. Maybe Myrn is actually on their side, and we're going down the road of finding out his secret, and every character finding out his secret next week. Episode 5 of Peacemaker, to me, is not the strongest episode. It's the one episode that actually made me realize, okay, the plot here is very simple, is very bare bones, to the point where it advances very little episode by episode. But the character work is the real meat in this show. The character work is actually what's making us grab onto these characters, grab onto the show. It's making the humor work, it's making the drama work, and it's got all these different personalities and all these different kind of broken pieces that these people are. And little by little, they're earning each other's trust, and little by little, they're starting to open up and find some humanity, not only in one another, where we finally see Harcourt smile. And I think that's such a little thing in general, but for this character specifically, it's such a big step, and it's such a strong sign of growth. But they're also finding the humanity within themselves. They're stopping being so angry at themselves, and they're letting their shields down and stopping with all the facades and showing their true colors. And these are beautiful colors to see. I think these characters are beautiful. The more we see of them, the more I like them. So again, it's a show that has such a quote-unquote an interesting plot, so bare bones, just it's there, it's fine. It is a story where these characters are at, but it's actually these characters that are really rich and are really working. So in that regard, this just another really fun hour of television. And so those are my thoughts on this week's Peacemaker. Monkey Dory. Did not like seeing a gorilla died, but I do love seeing a gorilla. So 50-50 on that. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on it. Drop it down there in the comments below. Anything and everything. Just start the conversation. And remember that if you like movies and TV, this is the place to be. So consider clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my channel members, Bruna, Stuart, for making this video possible. And there's a link for you to become a member should you be interested in the description below, so check that out. And I'll be back very soon with more videos, and I hope to see you in those. So until then, love each other and love the movies.